Hey everybody, and welcome to another Learn to Digitize video. My name is Sue and I'm a Hatch educator, and today we're going to work on a really tricky design. It looks simple and it just ends up being kind of tricky because there's so many ways you can do it depending on how you want it to look. So let's start off by bringing in our artwork. So we'll go to artwork and let's bring in our design. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you to Julie at Digital Whimsicality Graphics for donating the image that we're going to be using today. It's a beautiful monogram wreath. I'd like to say that she owns the copyright for this image, so she's letting us use it for personal use and for the classes, but I would like to ask officially that nobody reproduce, sell, or anything, either embroidery or the image, out of respect for Julie and to thank Julie, so we can keep getting better images and nice images like this to work with. Is fantastic. So thank you everybody for understanding that. All right, so the first thing we do when we bring in the image is look how big it is. It is 27 inches. We are not going to be making a mega monogram. So we're going to grab it and bring it down, and we want it to fit in. We're going to make it a bit larger than normal, just a little bit larger than normal. We're going to bring it down to, let's see, 5 inches, a little bit bigger than the 4x4 hoop. I mean, that looks a bit crazy, but that's okay. We're going to center it out because I like things centered. And I'm just lining it up with my grid. There we go. Now we can zoom in a bit. So the first thing you do always is make sure you're digitizing at the size that you want your final design to be. Now I'm going to do it a bit larger because we're going to be doing some things to it. Now let's start with our plotting on this one, because it looks pretty simple, doesn't it? But if you look at it, there's orange here and an orange there. You can digitize this orange one and you can digitize this orange one, but you're going to have a jump stitch across. Okay, so that's one jump stitch. But if you look, there's all the colors do that. They're not side by side. That's not how Christmas lights look. So you're going to end up with this big spider web design across with jump stitches. And we want to avoid that as much as possible. So you can auto-digitize this, but you're going to have a ton of jump stitches, tons of jump stitches. So let's start off with one light, and then we're going to plot ourselves around, and I'm going to show you how to do this more than one way. Don, I gave it to him to digitize, and he came up with another complete way of doing it. But let's just start. Let's get one light done, and then we're going to figure out the different ways. So I want to digitize, and I'm going to start off with this green light here. And digitize, close shape, and let's go for it. Let's zoom in to where we're supposed to be at around 600 so we can see all the details. Click, left click, and we want to follow along quite nicely here. That one is a bit too wide, so I just hit the backspace. There we go. There we go, filling it in nicely. There we go. That one, I did the same thing on the other side. Isn't that funny? And again, let's move it a bit closer. There we go. Lovely. Thank you. And there, and we hit enter right there. So we hit enter once. Let's take our true view off. And let's digitize that hole now. So I just hit enter once, and we're going to digitize the hole because the reflections are so pretty on this, and it's going to look fantastic. There we go. That didn't digitize a hole, though. That just did it over top, didn't it? Woohoo! So let's go back. And whoops, I didn't mean to zoom in there. Let's go to, you have to select it. Let's go to digitize holes. Now we can digitize the hole. There we go. So I'm just left clicking and right clicking to make it look the same. I was a little off on that, and I decided to keep going for some unknown reason. There we go. Now remember not to put too many nodes in, and we want a nice smooth hole in there. Enter and enter again, and we have our hole. Now let's look at it in true view. Looking good. I like it. Oh, I forgot two things. I forgot to put my resequence up, And I also forgot to lock down my image so we don't move it. And I just selected it and pressed the letter K. So now let's take our true view off again and let's digitize the inside. Now you can also do it in flat stitches. So this is again where we start with the choices. You can do it in flat stitches or you can do it in satin stitches. So let's kind of do it both. Let's start off with we can fill holes, I guess. We have it selected and we can fill holes and that fills it quite nicely. Let's change our color so they match our light bulbs so we get it straight right from the beginning. And it's a little more of a light green. And then this, of course, is white. Let's see how that looks on our true view. So we have one light done. Let's double click on that and it's going to bring up our properties and let's change it to satin. And see there's two different looks right there. Let's select it. So satin I kind of like because it makes it stand out. If you don't like that, then just go ahead and do it in tatami. That's fine. So we have one pretty light bulb done and I love it. So now our next problem is, let's zoom out a bit. Now our next problem is our next green light bulb is all the way over here. Now, if you leave a jump stitch, that would be fine for one, but look how many you're going to have, and I think that's a bit of a mess. So we're going to take a little walk around the block here. You can either do it with freehand or you can do digitize open shape. And before we do that, we want to select this and we want to go to reshape and we're going to zoom in a little bit and we want our stop point to be, say, in the middle, and we can start in the middle as well. You can do closest join afterwards. That's fine. I like to do it all at once. So we know it's right there. So I selected digitize open shape. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk along the middle. Now you don't need to go up and around. That's a waste of time. We just want to hide these stitches. That's all we're doing. If you have auto scroll on, that would be great. Spread it out. It doesn't have to be perfect because we are going to be covering it up. We're going to be covering it up with the cord stitches, we'll call them. So I'm just right clicking, left clicking, whatever the case may be, around, left click in the corner, right click, left click, right click. And we're doing this in order and we're making it look good. And it's a long walk, so just bear with me here. And we're going to have to do this for all the light bulbs. So we're going to have a big travel section in the middle here. There's a couple ways of doing this. Again, on this design, Dawn came up with a completely different way. And we're almost there. Look at that. Wasn't that much of a walk? And there we go. And we're going to bring it right into the green and hit enter. Now, the next thing we want to do, we should have picked it beforehand, is we want to pick the same green. And then it's going to travel and we're going to watch it stitch out. Now, you can digitize this again, but you know what? It's pretty much the same. So why don't we shift select these two or just that one part, because we'll work on the white parts later. And we can clone it, right click, drag, and then click on it again and see the squares. You see the difference? Those are solid, those are not. When you hit the knot, how about we zoom in a little bit? When they're not filled in, you can just left click, hold, and you can rotate it. So that saves a little bit of time on this design. You have to do a lot of walking around. However, you don't have to digitize each one because they're all the same. And we're going to carefully place it. And then we also know that our start and stop points are right at the right spot. So that's a bit of a time saver too. Now I'm just being super picky here, but that's okay. That's a big time saver. There we go. And I think that's good. I like that. So now we have one really nice connection and it's going to travel along. It's going to stitch this out. We're going to skip the white for now because we're going to get back at it. And it's going to travel through here to the next light. Now, another way that Dawn came up with, I'm going to move this white here. The other way that Dawn came up with is, why not circle copy? Why not? So I selected it. Let's go to Edit Objects. Let's go to Sorry, it's not edit objects, it's layout. One of my favorite places. Circle layout, and we have to go up here and there's 14 items. So you can't get it exactly on, but nobody says you have to do exactly that. So that's pretty close. You can get it pretty darn close. Some of them are a little bit off, but we can work with that and just click, and there they are. Now they're generally in the right spot. They're all the same color, but all you have to do is move them over a little bit. So that's a nice handy shortcut that works fine with this one. Absolutely fine with this one. And we can go through and change the colors. But look how much time that has saved us. Now that one is reverse. A couple of them are reverse, so that's easy to fix as well. So all we have to do here is just mirror it, and then we're going to have to move it around back into spot again, and you have to do that for a couple. But for now, let's get rid of these ones. That's easy to do, so that's a nice quick shortcut for it. And there we go. I'm just scrolling back through. You can do Control Z, but I like to see what I'm deleting. So I always do it here, and plus, you know me and keyboard shortcuts, I don't always do them. So we moved quite a few of them. I didn't realize I moved that many. Circle layout. So here we are back to that. So we've got the two green ones done. Why don't we do it the other way? And if you notice that these highlights are all in different spots, just they're reflecting off of each other, I guess. So you could do the circle copy, and that's fine. That saves you a lot of trouble. Or you can go through and do it one by one. So I'm selecting it, I'm sliding it over with, I'm cloning it, and with the right mouse key, let go. And we're going to change this one to a kind of a dark blue so we can see. Now this one we're going to have to mirror, so it's the right way. Let's click it again. Let's change the angle, and you know, get that one in spot. That's perfect. Now let's do the other blue one. And the other blue one goes all the way across here. Now obviously we're going to have to do a little bit of fiddling around. A little bit. And there we are. And we're going to have to make that connection as well. And basically you just go along with all these lights and make it all work. So let's do this one just for fun. Did I not? There, if you do that by mistake, that's okay. That's what I did. I'm a little tired today and apparently just not quite witty, but you know, it's easy to fix. Absolutely easy to fix. Look at that, couple clicks done. I'd like to be a little more precise about that one. So as long as you see those empty boxes there, you know, you can slide. We're going to do the whites in a minute. So why don't we walk right over there? So let's go to our Reshape. And look at that, because we copied, everything is in the same spot. Love it. Let's go to Digitize and let's walk our way around. So we need to start up here and we're just going to follow along the same path. Now remember, we're going to cover up these. There's going to be a lot underneath, but that's okay. We're going to cover them up. And once you stitch them out, you'll see that everything gets covered up quite nicely. Now we are pushing it a little bit because there's a lot of colors going under here, but there's not always going to be 2, 3, or 4 covering it over, so we'll be okay. And we're going to do a nice satin stitch on it. Nice satin stitch. There we go. And there we go, getting there. See, if you do the walk, you can do it quickly. And you don't have to be too precise with the walking stitch. It's not that bad. So now we have 2 connected. Let's hit enter and let's change that color to the blue so it matches the blue, number 18. And how about we go to our select key and select that, and we'll do number 18. Now this one is not in the right spot because we want it to connect. We want it to stitch. Actually, this one, because I made a mistake, always keep an eye on your order. We want it to stitch that one. We want it to go forward and then stitch that one. So you have to have everything in the right order. But so far, we've eliminated 2 big, huge jump stitches just by simply walking it along. So now we can do the same thing for the white parts because that's also a part of it. Because it's on every single one, we're going to have to do a little more walking. So let's set these guys up. We're going to mirror it, and then we are going to rotate it so it fits nicely in. Now I want these guys in satin, and I want them on the top like that because I think it looks good. Again, you don't have to have them satin. If you want them tatami, that's fine. Just depend on the size that you're doing and how you were doing it. It might be a little more reasonable to do it this way, and you're just going to have to, because it's almost at the right angle, it's on the right side, and you don't have to mirror, but you're going to have to put everything in the right order. So it's just a little bit fiddly, but that's okay. We're going to make it really worthwhile here. Let's do one more. So right click, and I'm cloning, and that one's almost right. I don't have this light done, but that's okay. We can zoom it along. So now we have to make sure these guys are in the right order. So one easy way of doing is I click on it. So when I click on this one, this highlighted, and this green one is going to be number 1. This is where we start everything. So we want number 2 is fine. We want number 3 is fine. We want number 4 is fine. And we want number 5 is fine. So we got that down pat. So let's look at our number 1 here. Let's zoom in to where we're supposed to be. And let's look at our reshape. And it's going to, we want it to start and stop at the same spot. Now we're going to have to move stuff around. See, this is what I was talking about with plotting. We're going to have to move stuff around because what's going to happen? What is going to happen when we do the white? We want the white parts done first, but we're going to leave them on top for now. But what's going to happen when we digitize our connections? It's going to be over top the green, and we don't want that. It's fine here, but we don't want it here. So we're going to have to do a little rearranging. So I'm going to go here, and we probably should have checked the start and stop points of everything. And then we're going to hit enter, and we do want that white. So let's go back to our select key. Let's do it in white. Let's check this reshape. We're going to go through. Start and stop are in the correct spot. Excellent. Excellent. So I don't see the start one, but that'll work. So let's go on. Let's check this one while we have it. And then we're free and clear for the next one. Let's do reshape. There. No, we want it right there. Thank you. Is that where the other one was and I couldn't see it? I'm going to guess so. So make sure before you start duplicating that you put everything in order. If you don't, like me, then that's fine. We'll just put everything in order right now and make sure we have everything ready to go. One last thing to worry about. But that's what it is with plotting out. Do it in the right order. I like to show you guys in the wrong order a lot of times because it shows you how to fix it. Now, did I move angles? What did I do there? If something like this happens, no worries. Tatami, fillet, satin. It doesn't like it there. Let's go to reshape. What is the problem? Let's move it there. That's fine. We can leave that one satin or tatami if you want. Satin. There we go. We fixed it. It's just a little, I moved something by accident. So if that happens, don't worry about it. You don't have to be frustrated. We can just fix it up. But I like to show the hard way all the time, just in case you guys run into these issues while you're working on things. So let's, we are zoomed into a crazy amount. Now we know we have everything in the right spot. That's where we left off. So let's go to Digitize Open Shape and let's carry on. And this one is going to go here. And we are going to rearrange everything in a minute. And this one is in the right order. And we just click there, up, and we hit enter. And again, I didn't pick white first, so let's go back to our select. There we go. So you can either do the plotting out beforehand or as you go along. And we'll do it both ways because now look, I have to rearrange everything because there's no point putting the connections down at the bottom where they sit because we want that white one, we want the walk around, that white one, we want this walk around. So if you're not putting everything in the right order, Dawn, for example, prefers to do everything and then put stuff in the right order. I prefer generally to do it as I go along because to me it makes sense. Everything makes sense as I'm digitizing along. But it is a personal thing, whatever works for you. As long as you have everything in the right order, then it's fine. So we're going to have to move this one. It's a little bit harder to see the white ones here, but you know they're in the right order. Click off that, digitize open shape, go back here, and this is going to work out spectacular. So this is what we have to do for all the white ones. And there we go. And we're going to say that's the end of our design and everything is in the right order. However, let's bring these guys, and I just shift click. Let's do the white parts first. It's going to change the look a tiny bit, but I think that actually looks better. I absolutely love it. Now we can switch those. That's a tatami one. That looks good. That is the white one. Switch it to tatami. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It really depends on the look that you want for it. I think either one of those looks great. So to start off, we want to do our white ones. So let's do them how I like to do it. So let's pretend it starts here. So the first thing I'm going to do is digitize closed shape, because that's what we're doing. And we're going to right click along there, right click, left click in the corner, because we changing directions and we want a cusp, we want a sharp edge there. And there we go. And we're going to hit enter. And I did it wrong. So let's go to fill. My rhythm's off again today. Let's go straight to reshape. And that started and ended exactly how I wanted. But I check anyways. I absolutely check anyways. I think if you go to show, you can show. I don't like shapes on generally. That's all you can do with it. We can take it off when we can show our connectors. So if I'm starting here, the next thing I'm going to do is, you can either do freehand, like I said, or you can digitize open shape. And I remember that it's right there. And I'm just going to walk along. And this way I know everything is in order. And I'm going to bring it in right to about there. Hit enter. And then I'm going to go to my closed shape. You see the rhythm that I'm having? How about we change it to fill this time? See the rhythm that I'm having here? And then I don't have to worry about changing anything around. And to me, it's easier. Don, again, professional digitizer, he just doesn't do it that way. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. So let's go to digitize open shape. I also find it a little bit faster to do it this way. Just a little. I don't think it's a big deal. Now this one's a little out of order, but that's okay. We're getting the idea of it. And again, start at the bottom there. So our start and stop points are in the right area. There we go. And we are going to have to change the order of this one because I already have it digitized. And I forgot. There we go. And that's working out. And you know what? We have to go to reshape because I didn't put this in the right spot. And we want it to go there. And that part doesn't really matter because it's going to work the way we want. So shall we do one more? Let's do one more. Digitize open shape, and let's walk ourselves over to the next one. So you can see there's going to be a couple of walks going on, but they're certainly easy to do. And when you stitch this out, it is going to be gorgeous. And thanks again to Julie for the great design, because this one is lovely and tricky. Lovely and tricky, and it's a cute design too, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy working on it. Now for this one, I'm going to go into reshape, and I can see my start and stop points are okay, but I'm going to change the angle because I want the angle more like that. And that's all you have to do. It tells you the angle that you have it on. You don't have to necessarily pay attention to the numbers, but I think that doesn't look nearly as good as that, say. So change the angle on that one. And look, in that quick time, we stopped at yellow. In that quick time, we've made these amazing walks. Now, again, those are in the wrong order, but we can fix that. And if you look, it's the object, the walk, the object, the walk, the object, the walk. So everything is in order. And with these whites, I don't have to do anything different. What we could do, just for the sake of keeping everything neat and tidy, switch over to the colors and just add it in afterwards. Now let's make sure it goes afterwards. Yes, it's afterwards. It's still highlighted. So now we're working our way along. I think I did miss a connection though, because I just started at the orange saying that it was missed. So let's walk along. No, Yes, it's there. Nope, there we go. It gets a little bit confusing. It can get a little bit confusing, but it is okay. So now we want to move that up. It's going to be right. Now we can look. Let's walk. I think it's probably there. Did I get it right? No, this is the one we just moved. That one. I was off by one. Not bad, though. Not bad. There we go. There we go. All right, so we are in the correct order. Super-de-do. That's awesome. So anything you add, or if you look and you miss something, you will get the hang of plotting it out. It's super easy. So when we're zoomed in close, that looks like a real mess. That's a lot of stitches. There's going to be a few more, and it's okay because we're going to do this green next, and it's going to look fantastic. So there's a couple of ways you can do the green. So we've got all the light bulbs sorted out. I'm going to finish this after so you guys can look, but you don't need to see me copying and pasting. We're going to be doing more of a technique. You see how I do it. If not, rewind it and you can do the same thing that I did for these ones in different ways. You can do the same thing with all the rest of the colors and do your walks. We'll do a couple more just to get us closer. This red and is nicely direct there, but okay, let's look at the green. So Dawn had the idea of doing one part of it and then doing the circle and then branching everything. And that seemed to work really well. So let's do it. There's 2 ways, 4 ways probably that I'm going to show you to do it. And it really depends on what you want to do. Now, let's start off with the simple way. So let's go digitize, close shape, and make sure we're at where we're supposed to be. And we are now. And all we're going to do is right click, left click, get the detail. It's big enough for this work, detail work. And we're going to start there. And I'm just going to do a section of it. And we're going to right click around the corners, and we're going to do right click on the outside here, and then we're going to, whoops, a little bit off there. Then we're going to digitize the holes after. So this is just going to be flat stitch, and it'll do, but I'll show you after how to kick it up a little bit. I just want to show you how well it covers everything. And we're going to go to here, and then we're going to go back. So I want that actually up a little bit so we can match the other piece in just handy. So I'm going back, I'm right clicking, left click up here, right click, right click, right click. And let's do this, and we'll do this part. So I'm just doing a piece of it just to show you. And let's do fill. And that looks kind of weird, but it's just a piece of it, so that's going to fill in. Now let's go here and let's do digitize holes. Let's take off our true view so we can actually see the hole. And I'm just going to right click around in a couple spots, and then I'm going to hit enter from here and enter again, and we should have our hole done. Let's go back to true view, and we don't want it white, thank you. We would like it a dark green. Dark green. There we go. And that is okay. And what Dawn did, you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I knew it would be the same as the lights, but I counted anyways. And let's go to our favorite layout, because you can do so much with layout. And circle copy, and it's already on 14. And then you can just kind of place them around. You can move everything if you want. But see, if you fiddle around, you can make it fit. And he did this part first, and then he did the lights after. So we made everything match as he was doing it. Now, this is okay. They're not symmetrical, all of these pieces. They don't come out symmetrical. And that's fine. Just because the design does it doesn't mean that you have to do it. But you can see how it fits. And you just have to fiddle around, and then boom, you're done. Absolutely just boom, you're done. I'm not going to do that part. I would continue on just doing it, and fill it with everything. I'm going to pause, and I'm going to have that done so you can see how well it covers everything up. Okay, so I finished digitizing this whole thing in satin or tatami stitches, and you can see how great that looks. You can also see on our finished ones that all the connections are nicely covered up, and you won't be able to see the running stitches. I wouldn't put too many more than that. All you can see is a tiny little jump mark there, and you won't be able to notice that. If we zoom out to where we're supposed to be, just kind of looking at it, maybe just zoomed in a little bit, you can't see any of the connections. And it's going to stitch out fantastic. So let's take a look at it and we'll follow our path of what we did. So it is, we're going to speed it up there and we're going to zoom in a bit so we can watch our walking stitches go. So we want the white to stitch out first, and it's going to go across and it's going to do all the whites that we did. Now remember, we didn't finish them all, but that's okay. Let's just watch it go. Look at all that. Now that saved us how many jump stitches? My goodness, this thing would have had a lot of jump stitches. Now I have it on auto scroll so we can keep looking at it. That one was wrong. You see how you see the mistakes? Those two between red, yellow, and orange, they were in the wrong order. That's why, when you finish a part and, you have to move stuff around, it's best to watch it. I saw the mistake and we just have to go and rearrange it. But see how nicely that works, even just for the white parts. Excellent, excellent. So now we're back up to the lights and we have to, if I was going to be stitching this out, I would stop everything and fix the mistakes that I see right away and start it again. That's how I would do it. You could also, on these lights, you could also change the angles of the stitches to make it look a little bit better. And we can do that after. Nice walking all the way down to the other green. How perfect was that? I love it. That one worked out really well. So far we've only made 2 little boo-boos on it, and that's fine. And there we go, doing the light. Again, we'll go in and change the angles and see if we can get yet another different look for it. Excellent. So this is the dark one. So we're starting a new color. You might even want to put it in a little bit better of an order so we don't have the machine jumping all over the place. But then again, remember, this is kind of a tricky design. It's going to look great though. So we're walking all the way over towards the other blue one, and there we go. And that is exactly how you save yourself a whole lot of trims at the end. And we're only doing a part of it. You guys can take your time and do the rest of it and get it all down pat. And this is a big, heavy duty kind of tricky one. And there's, again, a couple of ways of doing the same thing. It just depends. Now we're going to do our tatami stitch, and I'm not going to watch the whole thing because it's pretty basic. Oh, I left one piece in. I did it all in one piece, so this is the first piece that I said. So let's see how it does it. I'm going to delete this piece. So it's doing its underlay. This is going to be a few minutes. It's just basic tatami stitches, but we're going to kick it up a notch. We're going to kick it up a notch to do this a little bit better. Again, a couple of ways. There's nothing wrong with the tatami stitches. Let's stop that because that drives me crazy. So stop. We get tatami stitches. Awesome. Let's go through and delete this one guy because he was just our tester one. So we have the tatami stitches. Let's grab that dark green because that's one way of doing it, and we're going to come up with a couple. Let's, hey, didn't I lock that down? I was sure I did. I must have unlocked it somehow. Let's lock that down because I actually really wanted to move the tatami stitches. Woohoo, thank you. Control Z is your friend. So that's one way. That's nice flat stitches. So let's start at the green, and we can do it a couple of different ways. What I thought would be really nice is if we could do it in a satin stitch. And there's a couple of ways of doing this. Now, for clarity, I am going to do it on this part because we don't have any of our travel stitches going on. So let's go to Digitize, and we could do either blocks or we could do digitize closed shape and turn it to satin. But let's try blocks because blocks are kind of hard to do. And blocks are a side to side motion. And it's hard to see. I can understand that. Hard to see. Why don't we just hit enter there. I want to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. And remember, this is kind of small. So let's go to select. Let's delete that. Let's go to over here to artwork. And why don't we dim the artwork a little bit? And that will make it easier for you guys to see what I'm doing. So we want to digitize. So a couple of ways of doing it. Digitize blocks. We want fill and we want satin. You could even do 3D satin. It's a bit thick, but that's okay. And let's just start here. And the blocks are a side to side motion. And what you want to do is these middle lines are actually your angle lines. So if you don't like using blocks, get using blocks because it saves you from putting the angle lines in. We're going to do this a couple different ways, so we'll look at it. So the idea when you're doing blocks is that if you do it, you know, here and here, do you see how that's going to change everything? Now I'm just going to do it like this, and I'm just going to show you. I'm going to hit enter. And do you see how that's not smooth? Can you see how that looked? Because I did the angle backwards kind of thing. And you can change it. You can fix it if you want. And it does take a little bit of practice to do. So you can rearrange them a little bit. The orange ones are the angles. So you see how much better that looks. It's nice and smooth. So let's do that again. Let's try that again. So let's digitize blocks. And what we want is, now look, this is a single line, so this goes on top, and you see the connector right there, so you know that's your bottom. And you want to place it where the angle, you don't want to pull it to an angle like that or back like I had it. For this one, we want it a little bit, and that's your single. And you can right click and right click. I should have right clicked there so we get a nice curve. Right click, we want this one kind of straight up and down, right click, and we want to right click, and we want to do it about like that, and right click. It takes a little bit of practice, but it's so worth it. Now, what I want to do on this one, and practice a couple times, and again, if it's a little off like I had it when I did the first one, you can just do your reshape, which is reshape is your friend, and you can just fix the angles. Now, what we want to do for this one is we want to give it a little bit of depth. So this is, we're kicking it up a notch. There's nothing wrong with the tatami. It really didn't take me that long to do, and you can use the circle tool on it if you want, depending on how, or you can digitize each part, then digitize your holes. That's fine. It looked just fine. We'll compare the two. But for this one, we want to give it a little more depth. So the way this is going, it's going here, and then it's going, and then it's crossing over. So we want to digitize these blocks to about here. Now we can adjust this afterwards. Now, actually down a little bit because we want to avoid two satin stitches over each other. So let's hit here and have that generate. Ooh, nice and smooth, nice and smooth. So where this is crossing, we want it to go over and under and kind of have that look. Now, if you wanted to just do satin stitches and you wanted to have them cross over, that's fine. It's a lot easier to digitize open shape and do it right here. And it's just a little stitch, but it's going to make a big difference. So let's start it here. And what we're doing is just basically leaving a path. So I'm right clicking and I'm trying to make my angle lines go just smoothly. And it does take a little bit to do it. It really does. See, that one's off. I can tell I put that, I needed it to be about there. And you kind of get used to how it's going to step over. Now I'm going to do a little one here, and I'm right clicking, and I'm going to over there, and then I'm going to continue, except for, look what I did. Did you see what I did? I'm going to zoom right into an outrageous amount. You see what happened there? I right clicked instead of left click. So I just backspace and I left click and I left click and then I left click again, and then we start down on this path, and then we can start right clicking. Make sure we keep our angles nice, and we're going to look at this and go back and adjust a few because I know I did them wrong. And here we go. Going on, keeping my angles nice and smooth because that's what we want. And we're just going to take it to here like this. And we're going to hit enter. And we are going to change that to fill. Make sure you do that first. So now we have this overlap like that. Now I do want to make a little bit of an adjustment to it. It's not quite what I want it to be. And because I didn't do it properly, I lost my angles, but that is okay. We can go through and add them. It's under Digitize, add stitch angles. Now those are good. That one is not. So we just have to go in, and I'm just left clicking to place them, and it's going to make this look way better. There we go. There we go. We'll do one more and we'll make our selections. Hit enter. Doesn't that look so much better? So you see how that worked? And that actually doesn't look that bad. But you see how it gives it depth? And I like that it bends a little bit here. If you wanted to adjust that, you can just go in and fix. You can go in and just move your nodes around until you get the look that you want for it. And we do want it to overlap because we don't want our ends to show. So we do want to overlap a tiny bit because overlap is your friend. And that'll make everything look so much better. So you see how that looks? And how fantastic. How fantastic is that? Amazing. So let's do it again with blocks. I'm going to actually go over here because it's a cleaner workspace. Cleaner workspace. And we're going to start maybe at this one, I guess. And let's start and let's do our blocks. Digitize blocks. We want it on fill and we want it on satin. So now we've got it okay. So blocks, again, side to side motion. And we're just going to start it here and left click and right click. And we want our angles to move smoothly with us. And we're going to stop it at about here. And we're going to hit enter. And look at how smooth that is. Yay. Digitize open shape. And we're going to go from about here to about here. So you can see, you can almost draw a line there of where we want it to start. It'll jump and that's fine. If this was bigger, I have it smaller. But if it was bigger, then you'd need more than one stitch. You could probably get away with the jump stitch because, of course, it's going to be covered up. So let's work on our angles. Click, click, right click, right click, right click, right click, right click. And that's a bit much. See how it's kind of, the last one was a little bit off. And there we go. And this is going to look fantastic. Now I'm right clicking on them. If you cross over like that, that just means you weren't paying attention and you did it on the wrong side. So you can backspace and fix it super easy. Now we're going to cross right over here. Let's make this one look even better. Now I don't want a space. So I want this one left click and I want this one right click and then this one, and see how we're crossing over. This line here is the start of the other one and we want it to cross over and make a super nice. So a little bit of practice and you guys can do it. Little bit of practice, you guys can do it. And there, we want that to match up and we're going to hit enter. And I was sure I picked everything beforehand. Apparently not. So let's go back and let's do our stitch angles. And just toss them in. It's pretty quick. I do it all the time. That's okay. I was sure I did it right that time. Just toss them in and hit enter and we look way better. So that's a bit bumpy there. We may want to go ahead and fix that. That doesn't look quite right to me. So let's go to our reshape. You'll get the hang of it. You will get the hang of it. That's our under one and that's our over one. So I'm just going to slide everything down so it looks a little bit better. We don't have enough over. We want that one. This is the under one. See, if you move it like that, it's kind of a bit sharp. I do want this one underneath. And because we're working it smaller, we can just slide it in. I moved the wrong one, but that's okay. Let's move it back. And we want a nice smooth, nice and smooth. So we may want to move this one so it's curvier. Excellent, absolutely excellent. I think that looks great. What do you guys think? I think that's fantastic. And that kind of kicks it up a bit. This one is much smoother than this one was. So all you have to do is go in and just do your reshape and play around with it. But we're just trying to get the basics done. So we have one more part to digitize. So let's do that. Again, we can do this a couple of ways. And you can do this one either in tatami stitches, and we're going to check it out, and we want to cover over a little bit. Either way, that's going to look good. Hit enter. So satin stitches, you are going to have to change the angle on that. So let's just scoop up the angle. There we go. That looks much better. So if you like that look, that's fine. Why don't we do a couple of them? And again, you have to click on it, change, because if you can copy something, you might as well copy it. And it's just select it, right click, move it over. Now you can also use the circle copy on this one too, just to get your copies down and then just move them into place. That's fine. I moved the wrong one. Edit, undo, move. Yeah, we're getting kind of complicated here, so you have to make sure you see what you're selecting. Let's turn this one to tatami and see which one we like best. Now, we have this. This is going to have jump stitches again. Sometimes you can't always do without jump stitches. We've got a little mess because we're reaching over there too. But these ones we want to fix up. So a couple things you can do. Let's ignore that guy. Let's ignore that guy. And I want to put it back on true view. And let's pick our pieces here. So all of our dark green except for our tatami one. Let's do this. And why don't we try branching it and see what happens there? Let's branch it, and it's going to put everything in order for us, and it's going to work out. So then how many jump stitches do we have now? We don't have too many, other than traveling stitches. We don't have too many, and that's going to be fine. Look how great that looks. So now let's watch the green part stitch out. We're going to do our, let's put it back on true view. So there's a couple ways of doing it. I don't know if I like the tatami better than that, but we can go through. I like this one is much smoother than that one. But we can go through and do the whole thing, and then we can watch it stitch out. Okay, so what I did is I went through and I digitized all of our swirly pieces like this. And I think it looks pretty good, and it's nice and smooth. And you can compare the two. This is our quicker tatami. It's actually not that much quicker. This will give you amazing practice on your block stitches. And all I did was I copied all the pieces around. I just slid them over, changed the angles. I did all of these because it's not symmetrical. So you can do the circle tool on all the bits and do your running stitch afterwards and make the whole thing symmetrical. But I think the beauty of this one is that it is not. So I did all of the swirlies, and look how nicely it covers up all of our work. And I did all of these, and then if you look down here, you can see that I branched it. These are the ones that we had before. I went ahead and branched it, so it all works out smoothly. And I decided on satin stitches here, and I think it looks fine. I think it looks great that way. And I like the way the swirls have turned out. I think it gives it a little more depth to it. Again, nothing wrong with the tatami stitches, but I think this one looks a little bit better like this, and I quite like it. So there's a couple ways of doing it. Let's go over it again. We can do tatami, which is just flat stitches, which gives us great coverage, and it looks fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that. That's amazing. It's up here, so let's undo that. We want that actually on top. Let's do it in a different color so you can see. So the tatami stitches, that's great. They all look nice. It all flows nicely. But let's move that over. We can kick it up a notch by doing satin stitches and branching everything. And I think it looks great. That is going to stitch out. That one's a little bit off. You can play around with the angles before you do it. But look at how nicely that fit together. I think it's fantastic. Now, I see a boo-boo here, right here. I zoomed right in. I was a little off with this blue one. So we need to go right here for the blue. Is it right there? It's right there, I think. Let's take our true view off so we can see that, yes, it is a little bit out. So we need to go to Reshape. And all we have to do is tuck that in. And if you put it kind of in the middle of everything, they're not going to show. But I was just doing it a little bit too quick for my own good. And if you can see, there's a center line on it. And that'll make it a lot better. So if you go through and you see little boo-boos like that, quick and easy to fix. So how we have this rocking, let's delete our tatami guy. How we have this rocking, and it's in the right order, is that it's going to do the white, and it's going to walk just here, do that white, walk just here. And remember, I found a couple mistakes as I was watching it stitch out. Then after that, it's going to do the light bulbs, and it's going to go over the light bulbs. So it's going to do the green, and then we're going to walk all the way around to this green, and then it's going to do the blue, and we're going to walk all the way around to do this blue. So there's no jump stitches in the middle here. And then to cover everything up, we did this, and I did it in satin and kind of overlapping. It's going to go all smoothly. Now you can multiply this and then branch it together, or you can manually do it to get really good practice with your blocks and have everything go smoothly. I would fiddle around with a couple of these because I was a little off on my second one, and just keep going. And then these can either be satin stitches or tatami stitches, and then I branched them all together just to make it awesome. So let's have a quick look at this guy's stitch. I'm going to zoom it up. I'm more interested in the green, so because we've already watched all the white and everything. So let's see our green go. That's the one I did before. So it's going up and it's doing everything itself. And because I branched it, everything works out, and it's going to stitch it in a logical order. Look at it go. No jump stitches, and it's covering up everything that we did. And I love it. I think that's amazing. So when you do the branching, it's going to put everything in order for you. It's going to put in the right amount of underlay. And we've ended up with a design that stitches out smoothly with no jump stitches. We won't have any jump stitches with this guy. Instead of having, I can't tell you how many jump stitches. You'd have one for each of the white, so 14, and then 7, and then more. We'd have probably 50 jump stitches. So we've taken it from one level to the next. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. Look at how good that looks. I love it. And again, you can do it symmetrically, or you can follow it exactly. And then the last thing we have to do is add our monogram lettering in there. So let's do that. I just clicked monogram, and I just want the letters. And let's do D capitals M-E. And it zoomed in for us. How about an M? I did say M. M-D M-E. How about do it slowly? Why won't it type my E? Take my E, please. And you can decide how you want that done. I kind of like that. I think I would like to make it a little bit smaller so it fits in. You can pick different fonts. You can do anything like that. But that is how we do it. I kind of like that. Let's zoom out to a better size. Now the beauty of this one, you can make it any of the colors that we did the light bulbs, and it would look fantastic. You can pick any style. Look how many there are. This one would be nice. That would be what I would want to do on that. Doesn't that look great? So a tricky class. You try it different ways. It's another really good connection class. It's pretty tough. This one's pretty tricky to figure out, and you're doing a lot of walking around. I guarantee you by the time you're done this class, you will have this down pat, and you will have everything done and amazing. So let's select this guy. Let's do it here. And aside from a couple of light bulbs, we're just going to say that they're burned out. That is how you do a really complicated, heavily connected light design here inside Hatch software with virtually no jump stitches. Everything's connected. We used blocks. We did it more than one way, so depending on what you like. Absolutely fantastic, and that is how it's done. So practice, practice, practice. I realize this one's tough. Go back and go over it again. Make better corners than what I did. I just kind of did it quickly because I don't want to be, forever doing this just so you can see it. And I think that looks fantastic. Lots of options, lots of different ways to do it. The point would be no jump stitches. So thanks everyone for watching this class. Happy connecting and happy digitizing, and I will see you guys in the next class.